Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all doing well and staying safe during lockdown. Today I am going to be showing you how to make a gluten-free quiche. Now I have been asked for loads of tips on how to make gluten-free shortcrust pastry, and I thought this would be a really good opportunity to show you. Now the main reason I have decided to make this quiche is actually because our freezer broke and we had to defrost it, and I've got a lot of bags of veg like this which are now very soft and soggy, and I thought actually fajita mix would make an awesome quiche. So I'm going to make a gluten-free Mexican inspired quiche, and I just thought this would be a really good chance to show you how to make gluten-free pastry. It's not as scary as you think. You need some very basic ingredients, a little bit of love and attention, and it's really easy to throw together. So I hope that this will give you some confidence in making gluten-free pastry, and I'd love to know what kind of quiche you're going to make with yours. Definitely let me know in the comments, and I will post links to the full recipe and everything that you need to make this down below in the description. First, I'm going to talk you through the ingredients that you need to make a gluten-free shortcrust pastry, and it's really simple. The main thing is gluten-free flour. You need a gluten-free plain flour blend, so something like FREEE by Does Farm or Sainsbury's, something that you can just easily pick up in the supermarket in the free from shelves. You're also going to need some butter. Now I use unsalted butter. Normally I would probably use a combination of half butter and half either lard or cooking if you're using something that's vegetarian, but because I don't have that, I'm just going to use butter, and I know that I'll just get a good result from that anyway because I've used it before. You're then going to need an egg as well. These are medium-sized eggs. I'd recommend that's the size you go for if you're making pastry. It's the size I always use, otherwise you might find the texture is a bit different to how I show you in this video. And then your secret weapon, xanthan gum. Now, I know a lot of you have asked about this, they've seen in my recipes before. It's basically a gum that you add to gluten-free baking mixes, and it helps to replicate the kind of stretchiness of gluten. So if you think when you're making bread, normal muggle bread, and the dough is really like stretchy, you can knead it, that's because of the gluten. So we don't have that in gluten-free flour, which is why I use xanthan gum. I know some people use psyllium husk, but I don't have any of that, and I don't have any experience using that yet. So I am using this. You can pick it up in the supermarket, and a little bit goes a long way. So this little tub will actually last me for ages, and this is what you need to be able to really like work the gluten-free pastry. Otherwise you might find it's a bit sticky, doesn't really kind of come together. So if you're wondering if you need xanthan gum, the answer is definitely yes. And that's it. A little bit of salt as well if you want some in the seasoning, but that's completely up to you. And if you are making a sweet pastry, you can actually add a tablespoon of caster sugar as well. I often do that when I'm making things like jam tarts or mince pies. So that's like a really easy way to make a sweet pastry too. But let's crack on and make some shortcrust pastry. I'm going to make this into a quiche, so I will show you how to do that. So the first thing you need to do is add your gluten-free flour to your mixing bowl, and then simply cube up your butter and pop it in along with the xanthan gum. You want to make sure that your butter and your hands are as cold as possible when you're doing this, so it doesn't become a bit of a sticky mess. And you're just going to literally rub it together between your fingers until it starts to look like breadcrumbs. Now you may need a few minutes doing this, but you will find that it's starting to come together and it will look a little bit like this. Now once you've got your breadcrumb consistency, you're going to need one egg which you can crack into a mug, and you just want to add a teaspoon of cold water before whisking it up a little bit with a fork. You're then going to pour this into your pastry mix and use a fork to kind of mush it all together, and you'll find that it starts to form a bit more of a dough. Now when it becomes too thick to mush with the fork, you use your hands to bring it all together, and you'll find that you've got this slightly sticky pastry dough. Now we're going to have to chill this out for a little bit, so the best thing is wrap it in cling film and pop it in the fridge for about an hour while we make our filling. Now for this quiche filling, you're going to need 3 eggs, some double cream, a little bit of milk, and then I'm going to add in that fajita veg that you saw that defrosted in my freezer earlier. There's about 500 grams of that, which you can easily replicate by chopping up the same amount of red peppers and onion with a fajita seasoning mix. And finally I'm going to add in some mature cheddar as well, because I like my quiche to be nice and cheesy. So mix it up and pop it to one side. So when it comes to rolling out your gluten-free pastry, a lot of people have said that you could find it's quite sticky. Now most of the time it should be fine, but there is one useful tool up your sleeve: cling film. Now if you're ever rolling out anything gluten-free, I absolutely suggest you do it either between cling film or between grease-proof paper sheets. It just makes it so much easier to transfer it over into whatever dish you're flipping it into. For things like jam tarts and mince pies, you don't need to worry about it so much, just make sure you flour the work surface. But when it comes to something like a quiche where you need to kind of maneuver it into the dish, I would definitely say lay some cling film out. So I'm going to show you how I do that with my gluten-free pastry. Now first of all, you want to pop down some cling film on the work surface and cover it with a little bit of gluten-free flour. Get your chilled pastry from the fridge and just work it a little bit, pop it on top of the cling film, a little bit more flour on top, then pop some cling film on top of that. Now I use 2 pieces just to make sure it's wide enough when I start rolling it out, but if you've got extra wide cling film, you should be fine. And then I'm just going to simply roll it out. Now I've got this pretty funky rolling pin where I can actually choose my measurements, and I will link that below in the description. And I'm just patching this up and rolling it out just to make sure it's going to fit the size of the dish the quiche is going in. And now for the trickiest part, you want to use the cling film to gently flip the pastry into the quiche dish. Don't worry too much if, like me, you managed to fail first time, because as you can see, you can easily move it into place. And then while the cling film is still on top of the pastry, just gently push it into the quiche dish just to make sure it fits well. And now a top tip: break a little bit of the offcut off, roll it into a ball, and use this little ball to really push the pastry into the dish. This will stop you accidentally putting your finger through the pastry like I have done many times before. And then once you've done that, it's simply a case of making sure the pastry is all patched up. Feel free to use any of the offcuts to patch it, it won't really matter. And then you're going to use a sharp knife to trim the edges so it's really close to the pastry dish. Now once you've done that, and don't worry too much about neatness, you want to prick the bottom with a fork, and then you're going to cover the pastry with a bit of baking paper and fill it with baking beans, or in my case, dried lentils, because I don't actually own any baking beans, which is probably a bit weird for a food blogger. Once you've blind baked the pastry, you'll find it's nice and golden. This is what's going to stop any soggy bottoms. Mary Berry would be very proud. Fill it up with your filling, pop it back in the oven for the main bake, and there you go, my gluten-free quiche is ready to serve. As you can see, my quiche is now out of the oven and it smells amazing. The pastry is looking really crisp and golden and buttery, and the filling smells really like cheesy and spicy, so I cannot wait to tuck into this. I really hope that you found that little tutorial helpful. I'm going to post a link in my bio for the recipe for the quiche if you'd like to make that. There's also going to be a link for how to make gluten-free pastry, which I will do like a text version of this video. So I hope that you will find that helpful to have as well. And I just wanted to show you that creating something like this is actually really easy. It's no more difficult than creating a normal quiche. So I just hope that that will make it a bit easier for you if you want to have a go at shortcrust pastry yourself. Let me know if you make this, leave a comment on this video, and if there's anything else gluten-free that you're struggling to make, let me know, because I'm quite enjoying filming these tutorials. So please hit subscribe if you like this, and I'll be back again soon with another video for you. Bye!